a morning. Hello, everybody. What a morning. It's really bad weather here. And I just realized that the light here is pretty bad as well. And I don't have a light. I suppose I could whack that light up and give you a bit of an update into what's going on here. Now, before we get going, I just want to acknowledge a few things that have been going on. The first thing is that, yes, our Chevrolet Bolt EVs went wrong yesterday or the day before. The week or a few days after we had an update to the battery, that was an update to, as somebody noted, a downgrade to the existing battery management system so that the car could not charge beyond 95%. And that was done Thursday last week. And yesterday, as you may have noted when you watched the show yesterday, we had some issues with both of the bolts. My wife's bolt had a problem with the battery pack. It had an error that was related to the main contactor on the fuse. And then my bolt's ABS system decided to pack in. That was yesterday evening. And I hope that today brings some good news. And in fact, it did. I don't want to dwell on the negativity of yesterday. Today, we got a phone call from the dealership. My wife's car is in the shop. They had a look at the car. And when they turned the car on to move it into position yesterday evening, ahead of looking at it today, they didn't notice any warning lights. They confirmed this morning that there were no warning lights on the vehicle. And that, for whatever reason, that warning light has now gone off. They interrogated the car's system using their scan equipment, and it showed up in the history that there had been an error with the high voltage system, potentially in relation to a fuse within the drivetrain, the battery pack. They followed official troubleshooting procedure that was set out in the factory manual. And the factory manual states that what you should do is that you should take the car for a short test drive and see if the problem comes back. And if the problem doesn't come back, then they can't do anything more at that point, because it's not repeating. It's not a problem that keeps repeating again and again and again. Because they couldn't replicate the problem, because the warning light had gone off, they've cleared the system. We are going to go and pick it back up today. We're going to have some other work done on the car. We need to get an alignment done because the alignment's slightly out. We've just put brand new tires on the car. We didn't want to obviously waste that. So we're going to get the alignment done. We're going to pick the car up later today. There's some question as to whether we're going to have to pay for the diagnostic fee. The dealer representative I spoke to was like, oh, well, I'm going to charge you half for it. And I'm saying, well, you know, that is effectively part of the high voltage drivetrain system, so it should be covered under the 100,000 mile drivetrain warranty. How about that? He kind of feigned ignorance and said, I need to talk to my service manager. So whether he will talk to his service manager or not, I don't know. So we may end up having to pay a diagnostic fee, which is fairly standard. And a lot of people are complaining, oh, well, you shouldn't have got a Chevy, it's your own fault, and all of that. Everybody I know who has a car that's out of warranty has to pay for diagnostic fees when something goes wrong, normally. In this case, I don't know if we're going to have to pay for it. And, you know, if we pick up the car and we don't have to pay for it, then we just have to pay for the alignment. If we have to pay for the diagnostic fee as well, it sucks to be us, but we'll probably pay that anyway. So that's my wife's car. As far as we know, it'll be coming back, and we've just been told to keep an eye on it. My car, my wife got in it again this morning. She drove it. She had to run some errands before Thanksgiving. She sent me a message going, your car is now fine. No lights, no warning lights, no weird driving, anything. Now, that car yesterday was throwing errors, ABS errors. Now, I've been replaying this in my head and kind of thinking about it. It shouldn't have just thrown a warning light. No way, no how. However, I took the car to a car wash yesterday, which is unusual. I normally wash it myself by hand, but it was really filthy and I wanted to just get it clean and didn't really want to clean it myself. So I took it to a touchless car wash. And in that touchless car wash procedure, obviously part of that is spraying the car with very high pressure water to clean all the dirt off. I suspect that when they were doing that to the wheels, they maybe blasted the wheels extra hard. There was a lot of dirt and dust because there's a lot of dirt tracks around here. In fact, the road up to my house is the only road around these parts that is actually paved. If you go onto any of the roads that branch off that one, they are all dirt tracks. And I regularly will take dirt tracks to get to and from the house if I just don't want to go the main roadway. So it's conceivable that there was a lot of dust and debris already in the wheels that was then forced through when they pressure washed it. And then yesterday, in this part of the Pacific Northwest, we did have torrential rain. We're talking more than an inch or approximately an inch in an hour. It was very, very heavy rain. There was lots of standing water because obviously it's autumn here, or fall, depending on what you want to call it. And that means there's a lot of leaves, which means the drains get gunked up, which means there's always going to be a lot of standing water. And it was last September, I think, when we had the same problem. Again, after driving through a lot of water. Now, because the warning lights have gone off, I've spoken to the garage and they're like, well, we can't diagnose it if it's not throwing any errors right now. So we're going to get my car, is going to drive back home later on today when my wife comes back from running her errands. Then we're going to go and pick her car up, and then hopefully both cars will be back home. Now, back to the challenges laid out here. First up, I want to just read through some of these. Intermittent errors are the most difficult to diagnose. You are totally right. Kiki8008. I'm wondering if that's a relation to the drum machine. Greetings from the state of Delaware. Love your channel. Keep it up. Thank you. Stephen, hoping the bolts are fixed soon. Me too. Put a dash cam inside the car so you can press it and have it record when the issue comes back up. That way they won't need to replicate the issue and they can watch it happen. I did this with my BMW. You know, that's a really good idea, Alec. And one of the things that we're looking to do next year is to maybe get a dash cam setup working in my car. I also have a top secret project, which I'm not going to talk about, to replicate a feature that Tesla drivers have in their cars. And I want to see if I can replicate it in my car. So we'll have to see if that happens or not, but that may or may not include dash cams. So we actually replicated a problem with a computer once that way. We had the MacBook Pros. It would have been 2008, 2009, 2010. There was a range of MacBooks that had continual graphics issues, and our local Mac store, Apple store, couldn't diagnose it, couldn't replicate it. And so what we did was he just sat there playing games with the camera on until it did the thing. Then we recorded it, and then we sent that recording to Apple, and they were like, okay, we'll give you a new laptop. So I think in response to what happened with the ABS on my car, I think there was a lot of dirt on my car because it hasn't been washed since August, and it's now November. And when you have a lot of dirt and a lot of dust and a lot of crud, if that gets into that sensor, which is obviously in the wheel, I'm assuming it could probably gunk things up a bit. And therefore, I'm going to just put that and say, maybe that was the issue. Now, someone said yesterday, oh, you need to make sure your brakes are flushed regularly. The service schedule on the Bolt EV is every 5 years to replace the brake fluid. Obviously, you don't use the brake fluid as much if you're using regenerative braking. I rarely even use the brake pedal on my car at all. I always use the regenerative braking. The brake pedal is kind of a last minute, I need to stop the car now, emergency response rather than anything else. So I don't know if that's got a part to play with it, but that's where we're at right now. And I need to kind of respond to some of the criticisms and some of the questions and some of the other stuff that came on board as a consequence of yesterday's video. First off, the number of people who responded over the last 12 hours or so with positive messages was really lovely. the goal of Transport Evolved is never to be a cheerleader for one make or model. It's never to be a cheerleader for one particular vehicle. And when we report this kind of issue, we're reporting it because we are wanting to be as open and as honest and as transparent about our ownership experiences as we possibly can be. And I want to make something really absolutely clear, because aside from all of the positive, wonderful comments that we got, we also had, I don't want to call them trolls, but we had some really nasty comments. So people saying, never buy Chevy because it's crap. Never buy this brand because it's terrible. It's your own fault. You should never have bought this car. They've got a bad reputation for always braking, blah, blah, blah. And I want to know, kind of firing this back to people, I want to know genuinely, who owns a car for 4 years and never has a single problem with it and covers 50,000 miles in it? Because most cars at 50,000 miles will have developed some niggle, some problem that needs a little bit of attention. And it's important to examine the overall ownership experience of a car. Our Chevrolet Bolt EVs, both of them, have been, frankly, pretty darned reliable based on what we do with them, based on what we drive them, the high mileage cars. We drive them a lot. We live in the country. We ask a lot of them. And to this point, the issues that we've had have related to, we had one weird thing involving a charging station, which I think is probably down to the charging station, not the car. We had the ABS last year, and then again last night. And then obviously we've got that ongoing squeak. 3 issues, 4 maybe in 4 years, which generally, given the mileage that we're doing and everything else, is pretty darned cool. And unlike a lot of channels where we kind of, I know a lot of YouTube channels out there kind of couch things and they don't want to say the negative things because then people will accuse them of being mean about a car company, or talking negatively about a car company somehow affects the relationship. No, we want everything on the table. We want to be completely honest. We want to say these cars have been great. We have had a couple of issues with them. Kate Walton-Elliott still drives an i3 and she's had a lot of trouble with hers. We still drive Chevy Bolts. We've had a lot of issues with those. People throwing back at us why we got rid of our Nissan Leaf the other day. And the reality of that was we got rid of the Nissan Leaf because we'd moved outside of the original criteria for which we had originally purchased that car, and its battery degradation had got to a point where in the winter my wife was having to choose between getting to work and back or being warm. We live 25-30 miles out of downtown Portland. Her office is in downtown Portland. Obviously this year with COVID, that's been her office. She's been working right there next to me. She's off this week, which is why I'm able to record this in here now. And because of that, it means that we needed a car that had a longer range. And frankly, we've got to this point now where I'm extremely disheartened by the electric vehicle world, to the point that I have seriously given thought to retiring, selling the channel, just giving up. Because my job has never been to be a fangirl. My job is to be pragmatic and honest about this technology, because I believe if you show a technology warts and all, the good and the bad, then you give people all the information they really need to make value judgments about where they go next. And I hope that if you've watched this channel for long enough, you will understand that we don't like to pick winners or losers. We don't like to give anyone an easy time, and we will give praise when praise is due, and we will criticize when criticism is due. And yes, we sometimes get it wrong. That is the way it is. But people arguing that we are not serious about electric vehicles because we don't own a Tesla. one person yesterday even arguing that we are catering to a niche within the EV world because we don't have Teslas is frankly ludicrous. It is despicable as an attitude. And it's one of the reasons why I have personally been thinking about, look, I'm ready to throw in the towel. I love driving electric vehicles. I've been driving electric vehicles since 2006, right? And I'm assuming that the majority of people watching this channel would never have dreamt of driving an electric car in 2006, have only really shown an interest in the last few years. And it is really frustrating when it comes down to this tribalism, this pettiness about you cannot say anything bad about my car, or if you say something negative about a car brand that you have, then it validates why you are wrong and I should never have, and you should never have purchased that vehicle. You should have gone with this other one instead. It is terrifying. And to be clear here, I'm not throwing the towel. I want you to know this. I'm not giving up. It takes more than that to get rid of me. But in my darkest moments, you know, we go, well, if people are telling you that all they want to hear about is Tesla, and if you don't own a Tesla, you are nothing, which is paraphrasing the minority of comments that we received on the video yesterday when we were trying to be open and honest and frank about our ownership experience, it made me go, okay, if that's not what people want, then what do we give of value? And then I sat down and I thought about it, and well, we do provide a lot of value. There are a lot of people who watch what we do, who like what we do, who enjoy what we do, and therefore we're sticking around. And we're going to cover plug-in ownership for those people who either don't want or cannot afford high-end models, who are curious about the entire breadth and width of choices that exist in the marketplace, which, yes, includes plug-in hybrids. And we're going to be recording that plug-in hybrid video today, either for release today or possibly Friday. And at that point, we have this incredible community that we have built up and that we are sharing. And if that means more people are plugging in, then we are doing our job. I am regularly getting amazing comments that touch me and everybody else on the team that says, we switched from petrol car to electric because of what you guys do, because of what you and all these other channels do. And if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here today. That is what we want to do. We are not interested in advocacy, straight out advocacy. We are interested in, I suppose, subversive advocacy, giving people the information they need to feel confident in their next purchase decision, giving them the information they need to see that maybe electric is the best choice for them, and helping them pick a car that suits their needs, that suits their budget, that is not about trendiness or being a part of the cool kid club. I've never been part of the cool kid club. I can't even say it. Cool kid club. Never been part of that. And that is why we do what we do. And yes, it is disheartening and it's maddening and it's upsetting when the Tesla trolls show their ugly heads. And frankly, I have had enough of that particular group. And there are so many amazing people who own Teslas who I consider friends. And I know that it's just a minority of fans, most of whom don't even own a car. I know the majority of Tesla owners that I know are wonderful, loving, kind, amazing people who are all for the electrification of transport as a whole. Thank you, Elizabeth. So, please, can we stop the tribalism and the stupidity and the personal attacks and focus on what's really important? Just getting bums out of petrol and diesel cars, gasoline cars, and into cleaner forms of transportation, whether that's getting someone to sell their car and buy a bicycle instead, whether that's getting them to take public transit, whether that is to get them into an electric car. I've been thinking a lot lately, and what I am passionate about, and what I'm really, truly passionate about, is helping people dump the pump. I would love to set up a charity. I would actually even consider giving up this for said charity. I would set up a charity. I want to set up a charity to help train people to provide resources and equipment to help people learn about electric vehicles, both from a school graduate point of view, so they can go into the profession, but also from a home enthusiast point of view, so that people can work on their own cars at home, to conversions, so people have the skills they need to make their own positive decisions about a cleaner, greener, safer, and smarter world. And that is most important. Not berating somebody on the channel because they don't have the right car. Erin has already got a lot of criticism for having a Volt. I have had a lot of criticism for not having a particular type of car, and frankly, that is BS. And I don't want to dish the dirt on a lot of the YouTubers out there who are YouTubing their Tesla ownership experience, because some of the channels are very good. Others, though, are very superficial. And I don't want to be in that position. I want this channel to give people information. So this has been a little bit of an update and then a little bit of a rant. So I'm sorry that it's gone into a rant. But that's where we're at now. That's what the situation is with the car. Will it change? I don't know. Tomorrow, the cars may throw an error again. But because my Bolt is now not throwing an error, and it's Thanksgiving tomorrow, we've decided to bring my car home. My wife's car is going to be ready to pick up later today. We'll pick that one up too. The other thing that I wanted to talk about as a potential here, and I want to be cognizant of the fact, I hoovered the cars on Saturday. I vacuumed them. But when I clean the air filters out, I vacuum the cars. And as a consequence of that, I cleaned the interior and I cleaned under the hood. Now, for those who didn't see my Twitter posts at this weekend, there was a mouse that had built a nest in my wife's car, and there was evidence of mice having built a nest in my car. So when we pulled the air filters out, they were both, by the date stamped on them, they were both the original air filters. We had wanted to replace the air filters since the fires in August, but we just couldn't get hold of air filters that fit the car. We've just got some new HEPA ones from Bosch. I actually ordered 2 replacement ones, which are arriving tomorrow. So we have spares for next season. But those air filters we replaced, one of them had a lot of seeds and sort of little scrunched up bits of fibers, which tells me that a mouse was thinking about building a nest in there. My wife's one had a own nest in there. No mice, the mice had gone, but there was a nest. So when we hoovered out the car, we hoovered under the hood, and there was evidence that mice had been resting on the DC to DC converter where it gets nice and warm. We hoovered up all of the nut debris, all of the little seed debris from where they'd been eating, and any poop and other things. And then yesterday, when I looked under the hood of my wife's car, or sorry, Monday evening, when she told me about the problem with her car, I looked under the hood, and sure enough, there had been evidence that a mouse had gone back in there 2 days later. Now, I suspect the same is true of my car. I haven't checked under my hood of my car yet. But it is a possibility that a mouse has got in there and has started chewing. And if it's chewing at cables and chewing at wires, that could also be causing error codes to go. So I just wanted to throw that in there. I forgot to mention that earlier on, and we go from there. Let's read some of the comments, and then we're going to go back to the start. All right. You bought a Gen 1 BEV from GM. There will be much learning from GM from the Bolt that applied to the Gen 2 cars like the Buick, Electra, and Cadillac. Thanks for helping make this possible. Eddie, I don't consider it the Gen 1. It's kind of really a Gen 3, because you had the EV1, right? Then you had the Volt, the original Volt. Then you had the second generation Volt, and the Chevy Bolt came off of that as well. So that's where you come. Hydrogen fuel cells need love too. as much as people hate to say that hydrogen fuel cells are terrible and we shouldn't have them, there are some applications where I can see them working as range extenders. So, you know, I think that's what your channel is about, getting people into a cleaner means of transportation. Absolutely. Upgraded from Zoe to Soul EV. What a great car. Hang in there, Nikki. Yep. Thank you, Frank. What a lovely comment to make. Wrong angle, not a charity, start a race. That would be a good one. Set up a congressional lobby to help standardize American chargers and build out a better charging network. Hey, President-elect Biden, call me. I mean, seriously, if the Biden administration rang me and said, hey, we want you to come and help build out an electric vehicle network, I'd be like, I'm there. James says he's not going to buy a Tesla because he doesn't want the attitude that Tesla drivers are now kind of given attached to him. And I think that is unfortunately the way that some owners are coming. I was talking to someone the other day and they literally said Tesla drivers are the new BMW drivers. And that made me really sad because, like I say, I know a lot of Tesla drivers who are amazing, wonderful, kind people. Tesla has done such an amazing, great amount of work in this sector. Without Tesla, we wouldn't be where we are today. And we need to celebrate that fact. But there are lots of companies. And interestingly, earlier today, someone sent me a message about the Model X roofs falling off, or one X roof falling off, and Tesla now doing a recall campaign. And the way that people talk about that is very different to the way that they talked about the Bolt recall campaign. And it kind of made me go, we really aren't living in a very fair world. We're not treating companies fairly, and we're not treating each other fairly. So some people are like, oh, it's only one Tesla, we don't need to worry about it, blah, blah, blah. Media will blow it up and it'll be a big issue. On the other hand, people are going, oh, it's terrible that this is happening, blah, blah, blah. And then people saying it's not a big issue, but then the Bolt issue that we've just had to go through is considered a big issue because it's not Tesla. I don't understand the logic there, and I'm not even going to try. So the short end of the day is Tesla makes great cars. They are great cars for a lot of people, and you should try a whole range of different vehicles. I would be devastated if I thought that people went and test drove like just a Tesla. If you're buying a new car, you should test drive all the electric cars that are available in your area. You should shop all of the options, do your research, decide which car you prefer and why. And at that point, then you make your decision. You don't make your decision because it's the one that everybody says is good. And I could cite plenty of occasions in the tech world where people have gone for a particular model of phone or computer or gadget because that's what everybody else had. And then they discover that it doesn't suit their needs. And then while that product is still amazing and fantastic, the person who bought it hadn't really done the forethought and the planning, and then they're just disenfranchised. And that doesn't help anybody. All right. We missed the beginning. We'll need to rewind. Yep. Oregon has such a lack of good electric vehicle enthusiast clubs. Our EV has no discussion of funds of conversion rather than the rebate for buying, which is a giant shame. If your car is a bad purchase, then all must be, as no car is perfect. You should be proud of your achievements. ODB2, clear the codes, write them down. Yes, we do have an ODB2 reader. I'm going to try and get ours out later. Hello, neighbor Reno. You're in Forest Grove. I don't want to say where I am, but hi, neighbor. How about this? Hi, neighbor in the vicinity. Does that sound about right? I'm closer to you in Forest Grove than I am to Portland. How about that? That sounds probably closer to it. I'm in the foothills of the coastal range, so you can probably figure out where I am. Mice can easily get into a Tesla due to panel caps. Don't be rude. I've seen some really great Model Ys lately with no panel caps. So again, let's be pragmatic and honest about this experience rather than kind of play to stereotypes. You know, we're better than that. Are you part of the Electric Auto Association? I am. Okay. I'm a Passat GTE is a step too closer. So many interesting EVs coming soon. Skoda Enyaq, ID4 Model Y. I think that the Passat GTE is a great car. Haven't driven it much, but it's a great transitional vehicle. I wish it had a better all-electric range, and I wish it allowed you to operate in fully electric all the time. So, Ben Nelson. Hi, Ben. Long time no chat. I need to have a chat with you at some point about solar. We've been thinking about putting solar on the roof, and we need to make that happen next year. Can't quite afford it yet. I blame some of the radical Tesla fanism on the sort of radical shouting earlier on as a response to the radical ICE fans, and as a response to the radical ICE fans as a backlash to it, says Brett. Yeah, I think you're probably right in that regard. All right. People seem to forget that companies are not your friends. Love your channel. You are such a valuable source of unbiased information. Oh, thank you. That touched me. That's lovely to know. Happy Thanksgiving, James, to you and Kate and Erin and Kate, I assume, and all the others who are associated with. A lot of people, I mean, the other people saying, you know, people are saying, oh, does that mean you're going to buy a new car because you've had one problem with it? And I'm thinking, I don't have that mindset. So to put you in that mindset, because of our family circumstances, because of our lives, we've had medical issues, we've had all kinds of other things happen in our life to this point. And when we moved to the United States, we pretty much cleared ourselves out. So we started from zero back here. And so we don't have like huge disposable amounts of money to just throw at the next newest car that comes along. And I suspect that 90% of the people who watch this channel do not have that either. Car ownership should be a multi-year thing. It should be something that you buy until that car no longer fits your needs, not because there's a new hotness that's come along that has a better feature. And I don't know if that's because I'm now in my early 40s, or if that is because I've just had a change of opinion. I used to be very gadget obsessed and the new hotness. These days, I'm very much, you buy a car, you use that car until it has given you everything it possibly can, and then you move on. We sold the Leaf, or part exchanged the Leaf for the Bolt, because we needed a fairly immediate solution to the problem we had, and battery replacement had really not taken off yet in terms of third-party battery replacement. Had we been able to get a longer range battery pack, we would have considered it. So we are kind of exactly at this point now. It's 30 minutes in. I want to say goodbye at this point. It has been great to chat and to get some of those kind of concerns off my chest, and to give you a bit of an update as to how things are going. I understand that some people are going to be really offended by what I say, but you know what? I'm not going to please everybody. And I'm going to go and record some great videos for the Thanksgiving holiday. If you are in the United States and you are celebrating Thanksgiving, or in fact, if Nicholas, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Krona, I hope that you've got snow. At this time of year, I know you don't always get snow in that part of the world, depending on whether you're south or north. One of my favorite places is Kiruna in Sweden, and I love that very much. It's a very wonderful place, and I've been there a couple of times. Love Kiruna, love the Arctic Circle. So yes, absolutely. Anyway, I hope that you have a happy Thanksgiving if you are celebrating wherever you are in the world. Please stay safe. Look after each other. Be kind to each other. Don't drive long distances or travel on planes just to spend time with family. We have the technology today that makes it much easier to do that in a safe and kind way. It's kind to your relatives to do that rather than put them at risk, because yes, there's a vaccine coming, multiple vaccines, and yes, you can be a carrier and not have any symptoms, but there are plenty of people in this world who are vulnerable. Someone the other day was saying, why did I wear a mask when I was on camera with Erin? We were far enough apart. And the reality is I am at a higher risk than a lot of the population because of genetic things. I don't want to be ill any more than anybody else does. So please look after yourselves. Look after those you love. Remember, 2020 has sucked. But at the end of the day, we have a lot to be thankful for. Even in the darkest day. Even when people are shouting at you and swearing at you and making you feel like giving up. we keep going. To take a phrase from Peloton, we rise together. We work together. We educate, we listen, we have fun, we inform, we support, and we build a better future. Because our legacy is what happens when everything else is done. Keep evolving.